friends. I'm Scott Hanselman, and I'm here with Mark Russinovich, who has absolutely no idea what is going on today. Have you been prepared or prepped in any way?
Zero.
Okay. Is your
Zero.
mic even on? There you go.
Is it?
It is on. So Mark does not know what's going on, and this is exactly how I like it, because he makes me uncomfortable on our podcast, Scott and Mark Learn To, every week. So now it's our turn to make him uncomfortable, because this is Scott and Mark Learn To Vibe Check. So here's the deal. Nobody likes AI slop. Nobody wants an AI to create applications that are not awesome. So we think that there are three kinds of applications. There's AI slop, there's vibes, and then there's AI engineering, proper AI augmented software engineering, which you're a huge fan of.
Definitely.
So what we've got here, my friends, is 4 wonderful creators from out in the community who have created applications, and in the style of Penn and Teller Fool Us, they're going to come up here, present their applications, show us how they made them. They're going to show us their code. We're going to judge the applications, and we're going to guess, is it slop, is it vibes, or is it AI software engineering? And it's going to be awesome, and the points don't matter.
And we can ask them questions about how the code works.
Exactly. We're going to ask them questions. We're basically doing live interviews on how they made their stuff, because we want to make sure that everyone is doing great work with things like Copilot, with things like Claude, with things like Codex. Can we make quality software, or are we going to be gaslit by the community? Are these people going to fool us? And we're going to find out. It's going to be pretty cool. We also have to thank our sponsors. We've got a lot of folks that have put a lot of work into making things like this happen. And when we have crazy ideas like this, it's our sponsors that make us possible. So we're going to shout out to our sponsors, and we're going to come right back with our first guest.
Here we are at Microsoft Build in San Francisco, and I'm coming to you from the wonderful AMD booth right here on the show floor. I'm really excited to talk to Adrian because there's so many fantastic things that are happening to really empower our entire developer community right now. Adrian, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to talk about it. There's so many things happening in this space. I'm sure we could talk for a long time, but let's cover a few highlights.
Let's do that. What's really important about the partnership? Why does the partnership between Microsoft and AMD matter to this community?
Well, we're going to talk a lot about the technical innovations that are happening in the space, but tools and technology isn't enough without a strong ecosystem. And that's what we're working on together with Microsoft, is building a community that's going to nurture and foster that innovation.
It seems like there's this crazy pace of change. It has completely altered the way that we think about work and work forms and these platforms as a whole. I know experimentation is something you're passionate about. Tell us a little bit about that and how we should be thinking about that.
Yeah, I think that's the most exciting point here at this conference today, is that the rate of experimentation has really blown up. People have so many more choices, not just the technologies they're choosing, but the capabilities and models and platforms, the choice of where things run, how well they run, and what runs. All of these are new experimental choices that designers have to explore with.
That's amazing. And there's a cost impact there as well, isn't there?
Well, the cost function is something that they now can control more readily. Before, they had to make hard commitments on the choices they were making. They had to plan for them. They had to commit to those decisions. Now, the cost to explore is zero, really.
That is so empowering to people. It can be a little overwhelming too, but I'm excited by the opportunity that is happening there. And I know that there's going to be more that you're going to be talking about here. There's another conversation and there's assets. So I just know you have so much to offer. Thank you for the partnership that you have. This is fantastic. It's such exciting stuff. Now, if you really want to dig deep into everything that is being talked about here, you're going to want to visit AMD's sponsor page on build.microsoft.com. That's where you'll find all the resources, links to the sessions, and everything so that you can get busy right away. All right? Make sure you do that, and I'll see you again soon.
Hey friends, we are back. Thank you so much again to our sponsors for making this happen. This is Scott and Mark Learn To Vibe Check. Our first guest today is the wonderful Steve Sanderson. Steve Sanderson is an extremely well-known programmer. You've probably heard of things like Knockout.js. He's worked on Blazor. He's done amazing things on the internet. And he has brought us something today that we have not seen. No one here has seen this before. We don't know if it's completely bespoke. We don't know if he wrote it in a caffeinated Copilot session. It could be slop, it could be vibes, it could be AI augmented software engineering. What do you have for us, sir?
All right, yes. So what I'm going to show you today could be pretty momentous. So I need to start by putting it in slightly historical context, all right? So the human journey, right? We've come a long way, stone tools, language and culture, mathematics, computing, and these things are all quite good, but I don't think we've really reached the pinnacle of what we could be as a species yet, or at least until what I'm about to show you just now, okay? So I know you're probably all thinking like, oh, is he going to reinvent the whole software industry? And we're not ready for all this. I know you've all had a lot of change to deal with recently. You know, we've moved from this world where humans write code into a world where AI writes code. And I know that that probably feels like quite a big deal to Mark and Scott, but for a true visionary like myself, I'm already thinking about where we're going next. And in fact, I'm already there. So I'm going to show you, and I need to introduce you to a completely new operating system that's going to change everything about how we work. So, introducing Vibe OS, okay? It's the world's first completely hallucinated operating system. All right, and I'm going to show it to you right now. So, firstly, it is a real operating system. I can boot it. It's a VHDX file here, about 1.3 gigabytes. Could probably make it smaller, I didn't bother. I could boot it on bare metal, but I'm not going to. Going to boot it in Hyper-V. And so you will see that boot up nice and fast. It's very efficient. And when that comes up, you'll see it's got a beautiful user interface that allows our user to be highly productive. OK, so here we go. We're ready to get started with that. It's a bit hard to see there, so let's just switch to a full screen view. And we're going to start by running a few of the applications that are built in here. So we'll get some of the classics going. So we'll have Notepad, we'll have Calculator, we'll have Internet Explorer. And the thing that's unique here, the thing that you will never have seen before, is that in these applications, there is no code at all. Everything in all these applications is being hallucinated in real time by the AI. So there's no buttons, there's no event handlers, there's no logic to say what to do, but the application works. So if I do 5 divided by 3, and then equals, if I can find that, it's up there this time. It's 1.6. OK, so it works, right? But I didn't write any code, and neither did AI. There's no AI written code either. It's just producing UI exclusively with nothing behind it. And we've got Internet Explorer here. Unlike the boring operating systems that you use today, this solves one of the big problems that people have, right? People are always wondering when they're on their internet, is it AI or not? But in Vibe OS, you don't have that problem. There's no question to be answered because the answer is always yes. Everything is AI. So if I want to, I can go to, I don't know, let's see if we can find whether Scott Hanselman has a Wikipedia page, shall we? So I'm going to go to google.com here, and let's do a search for Hanselman Wikipedia, and we'll do a Google search there. And I don't need to remind you this, but all of the content you're seeing is completely hallucinated, right? So it's just coming directly out of the model, and the UI is being updated in real time as we go. And here's a beautiful picture of Scott Hanselman. I'm not sure about that one. All right, but it goes further, right? We're not limited to these built-in applications. We can search for any app that we want, and everyone always does like to do app demos. So anything that I search for, I'm going to find, and it will just be created for me on the fly, all right? So let's see what else we could find in here. Let's go for one of the classics, 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 Russinovich. All right? And so we can get a fully customized version of 𝗦𝗫𝗀𝗃𝗏 on whatever subject we're interested in. All right? So lots of facts and figures about Mark here. Let's see. Selected facts. Russinovich has a talent for turning internals into folklore. Great. I assume that's true. I don't know. All right? And other applications that you would want, but normally it's too difficult to make. So like Commander-XE, but it's always rude to you. All right? So that's the sort of application that I think is a genius idea, but it's difficult to get someone to implement something like that. So let's see what we've got on this machine here. And obviously, this is always different every time. OK, there's something suspicious. Let's see if we can run bash in here. What's it got to say to us? Bash, you have somehow offended. OK, fine. All right. So you get the idea, right? This is a pretty revolutionary way to do computing because we don't need to write any code for any of our applications anymore. Are there any software you would like to try out within 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗻? Anything you can think of?
Microsoft Money 95.
Money 95.
Yeah. Civilization peaked at Microsoft Money 95.
Money 95.
Oh, but Scott Hanselman has a lot of money.
Oh, but for Scott Hanselman.
Yeah, you can say Scoot as well. That's totally fine.
All right, so let's see what Scott had in 1995. Okay, let's see.
Okay, and this is
Scott's checking account.
What model is in the back end of this?
Oh, dear Scott. It's been a tough month for you, I guess.
Where are the tacos?
There we go.
That is amazing.
All right,
Okay.
so
All right, I want to see paint with a drawing of Scott on it.
paint with a drawing of Scott.
I'm
All
an
right,
owl,
let's see.
though.
Let's
like
do paint,
Before your haircut.
but with pre-installed
Okay.
Hansel.
And you've got, this is Copilot SDK that's doing this
This
chewing?
is using Copilot SDK, believe it or not, behind the scenes. I can show you a little bit about how it works if you want. So it says it's got a very normal picture of Scott Hanselman for some reason. I don't know what it means by very normal. Okay, there's a normal picture of Scott Hanselman.
That's
for
your
you.
cage.
That's my cage? That's the cage you keep me in. Okay. This is insane. Wow, okay. Could it, this is 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗻. Can it have nested OSs? How many OSs deep can we go? Can you simulate like an Altair
Yeah, sure.
8080 that's like a terminal emulator? So I need a terminal
we
emulator
could simulate a whole
that's
different
going and
operating
it's like
system.
shushing into a Altair.
Totally. So we can get iOS simulator in there. We can, what else could we have? We could have...
This may be the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. All right. So what have we got? Oh, it's difficult to see on this screen size, but yes, we got a fully functional version.
Right, and I
of
love that
iOS
it
in
uses
there.
the appropriate Windows CE buttons that you are likely to see in an iPhone. Yeah, it's very legitimate. So, okay, so did he write this from scratch, or did he's vibing vibes?
My mind is blown by this.
I know. I told you it'd be fun. You have questions, please.
Yeah.
You have 3 minutes.
Define hallucination.
I'm sorry, I can't
Define
quite-
hallucination. You call this a hallucinated operating system, right? It's hallucinating everything.
Are there sound people able to make the sound come this
Oh,
way?
sorry.
As well? 'Cause
Could
I really can't.
louder?
Sorry.
Can you hear this?
Not really.
He says, define hallucination for you.
Define hallucination. Okay, so basically, all right, let me show you the code. Right, so behind the scenes, what we've got is inside our editor. Right, so what's happening here? I went through a few different ways to try and do this. First way I tried to do it was by just generating raw bitmap images using like stable diffusion, that kind of approach. And it was sort of able to produce images of a desktop operating system, but it was rubbish because it took ages. And when you click on it, all you can say is like, the user has clicked at these coordinates, and it doesn't really know how to update things. So then I switched over to generating a structured representation of a UI. I tried a few different versions of it. I made a custom DSL. I tried this thing called Qt, which is a native UI thing, and I could generate a DSL for that. But it didn't do a very good job. The thing that really suddenly was able to do a great job was when I switched it to just be plain HTML. Because these models have seen so much HTML, they can make that up very, very easily. So what we're doing here is every one of these windows is a separate iframe. And when it pops open, each one of them creates a separate Copilot session within Copilot SDK, and it gives it instructions like this. So it's saying, you're simulating this application UI. I want you to produce some HTML that represents it, and it advises the model to put IDs inside all of the elements. And then whenever the user clicks anything, all we do is we send a message back to the AI saying, the user has clicked the element with ID R1 or whatever, now produce a diff that I can apply to the HTML. And so then the model produces the diff, we apply it, and the UI updates. And you get this kind of like fake statefulness because it's all happening within one Copilot session there. So yeah.
See, the irony here, and this is where Steve is very clever, is that he is using his AI augmented software engineering abilities and skills to create slop. And that's the genius. It's absolutely
brilliant.
I love it. I am
intentional slop.
Intentional slop, but only one that an AI engineer could possibly do.
Yeah.
Do you think you could have done this?
Do I think what?
How long do you think this would take you to do? Yeah.
So this vibe-coded thing.
Yeah.
How long would it have taken?
Yeah. A minute. It's a while. This is
A
work.
few hours.
Couple hours?
Yeah.
How long did this take you, sir?
I took a few evenings. So yeah, I played with a few different approaches.
Yeah. So
to get this to
total
work.
time, you think? And you were probably multitasking while you did it?
Yeah, total time, maybe 5-6 hours or something like that.
5-6 hours. I would say this is 2 notches past vibes, heading towards AI augmented software engineering.
I agree, yeah.
All right, fantastic. We're going to give you an award.
Oh.
We brought you an award. I'm going to get up, and we're bringing you this award.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. That was some amazing vibes. We are going to go to our sponsors right now, but shout out to Steve Sanderson for an amazing opener. Isn't that cool?
That was
Big
really
hand for
cool.
Steve, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. We'll head out to our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Thank you, sir.
Welcome back to the show floor at
thank
Microsoft
you.
Build. I'm so excited to be here at the beautiful Intel booth, and I'm here to have a conversation with Brian, my friend Brian here, who is going to tell us all about what Microsoft and Intel are doing together. Brian, welcome to Microsoft Build.
Thank you very much.
I hear it's your first one.
First time.
Well, we're happy to have you here for sure. What do people need to know about the partnership that we have between our two companies?
Yeah, I mean, Intel and Microsoft have a decades-long partnership, and we've been supporting the developer community Intel has for almost 30 years now. So it's been a very long time, and we're very proud of that. And one thing that we try to do is we try to help developers to optimize their applications across the compute continuum. And what I mean by that is, not every workload is optimized for a specific compute type. So there could be CPU, there could be GPU, it could be NPU. So we are helping developers to optimize their code to run best on the right infrastructure for their workload.
Oh, that's good. How do they get started with that? What do they need to know to move forward?
Yeah, so we have 100 million AI PCs, actually more than 100 million AI PCs out in the market that are made to run on or capable of running across those compute infrastructures. So we also have software toolkits to help developers to optimize their code to run best on the infrastructure that's best for that workload.
Oh, that is fantastic. Now, everyone's always really concerned about security. What about that?
Absolutely. I think security, especially in this kind of age of AI, is growing in importance. And Intel has developed a technology called TDX, which enables confidential computing in Azure. So essentially what that does is it allows developers to run sensitive data and sensitive workloads in a confidential computing environment and have the peace of mind that their data is secure. So
That's
it's super
fantastic.
exciting.
You can learn about that and more on the Partner Showcase page. Make sure to check it out. Whether you're with us in person or watching online, sponsors elevate your experience and help accelerate your goals. Explore how Anthropic extends coding agents across your team with Claude Code and Cowork in Microsoft Foundry. Combine powerful infrastructure, data, and applications to help your organization innovate faster with Oracle. Find out more about how our sponsors are using AI to solve the issues of today and accelerate the innovations of tomorrow. All you have to do is visit our sponsor directory for the latest advancements, inspiring customer solutions, and special product offers. Sponsors make more possible.
And we are back with Mark and Scott Learn to Vibe Check. We have just seen Steve Sanderson make a vibe-coded entire operating system in a couple of evenings with the power of AI.
Amazing. It was amazing.
You were impressed?
I was impressed.
Yeah.
It's when I see a project and go, I wish I'd thought of that.
I love that. Yeah, everything Steve does, I'm like, I wish I did that. But now, today, we have Cassidy Williams, who's going to share with us what she has made. We have no idea if it is AI slop, if it is vibes, or if it is AI augmented software engineering. Cassidy, what do you have for us?
Hello, everyone. I have been thinking a whole lot about databases lately. There's so many new ones coming out, so many things. And so I thought it'd be interesting to build one in the browser where it just runs in the tab. And so if you can see my screen here, this is a little query shell. And so right now it's doing select star from ideas. This is a query that you've probably seen before with just this little table here. I could change this to say, for example, select title, and then I have a ranking in here called cursedness from ideas, and then it will filter based on that. I could also add a where clause where I do where cursedness is equal to catastrophic. And then I can run that query, and it'll just work. And so I can continue adding things. I also had a query builder here, so I wouldn't have to keep typing things. So cursedness could be medium. I want to filter by certain things. I want it to descend. I want to limit things. I can do all of that, and then once I minimize this, I can run the query, and it will show. I could even add a drop table in there, and then it'll say, oh no, this is load-bearing. So this is all very fun. I'm also able to attach a sample SQLite database in here, and then if I just run the query again to select everything and not drop that table, it will load, and that's great. You've all seen this before, right? Where you can see a table, it's using WebAssembly to pull in the SQLite DB in here. But there's something that's a little bit more fun about this. There is no database, and there is no query engine. It's done with pure CSS.
Oh, no.
Exactly. Oh, no. All of the querying being done is in pure CSS, where, yes, I use JavaScript to actually load this onto the page, and it's using HTML to show the things. But all of the queries that you're seeing is done with just CSS selectors, CSS variables, if functions, all of that. Should you do this? Probably not, but I did. And that is what I did here.
Why would you do this?
I don't know. I was like, what if I built something for this show specifically where I was like, yeah, this is neat. And what if I made it terrible? And that's kind of where it came from.
That's exactly the spirit that I was looking for this session.
Good.
Do you know CSS?
Oh, I love CSS.
Oh, so you
CSS
do.
is one of my favorite programming languages to use. And it is a programming language.
When you clicked attach SQLite and that dialog popped up, does that file do anything, or is it empty? Is that a real database?
This is a real data, like the thing that you're seeing on the table is real SQLite that is loaded onto
So
the
you're
page.
literally querying.
I'm literally
You say
querying.
SQLite or SQLite?
It's an I say SQLite.
I don't know.
It's SQLite.
Tomato,
What's
tomato.
correct?
Okay.
Does anyone know?
SQLite.
SQLite?
Okay.
Anyway, it does that all, again, JavaScript and WebAssembly loaded onto the page, and then CSS does everything else. All of these checkboxes are using CSS to query and filter things.
I want to see the code.
You want to see the code? I got you. Check
Okay,
it
you're
out.
going to need to make the code a lot bigger.
I
have
will need
readers
to make
on.
the code a lot bigger. Okay, 1 second. Let me pull this up so you can see
Well,
all the
not
things.
disrespectfully large, just like.
Okay. Cool. And I made it light mode so that way it can be seen, but I'm sorry if you're going blind. Okay, so this is truly just HTML. There's nothing here. You can see
Right.
all of the CSS, or all of the JavaScript loaded it on the page, and everything else is in CSS. The Chrome CSS file is truly just for styling that HTML, so that way it's pretty.
Okay.
I picked a random theme in there, but everything else is done in CSS. So this table right here, let me hide the sidebar, it pulls in everything as a grid. But then it uses the CSS variable sibling index, and that is used specifically for limiting, for example. Every single query has a CSS variable in there. And let's see, I have
Did
some more-
you, and you know CSS, you're one of the people that understands it.
Oh, I know CSS.
Okay. And when you were, do you use GitHub Copilot?
Yes.
And did you use the Copilot app or do you use the CLI?
I use the GitHub Copilot app alongside writing things in VS Code, and every single time I was like, this is gross. That's where I used some assistance.
Okay. How much writing did you do versus just yapping to the machine?
I'm sorry.
How much actual writing of the code did you do? How much is bespoke?
How much of this is bespoke? Like handwritten by me personally.
Right, like
no
you're like,
AI
it
whatsoever.
doesn't understand CSS like Cassidy understands CSS.
I'd say like 20%.
You hand wrote 20%? Why?
I like CSS. It's a nice language.
You're one of the people that likes it.
You might be the only one.
I see some people in the audience who I know like CSS. I know some faces.
Yeah.
It's a great place.
I love it. There are people literally nodding their heads
Yeah, I do actually
next
see
to
a
people
lot of
that
people
are like,
shaking
no.
their heads. Come on, it's nice.
Okay, so 20% of this you wrote yourself. Did you steer the AI, or did you jump in and say, no, 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 I'm going to do this part?
There were so many parts where I actually had to stop it, where I was just like, this button is terrible, this link should go here, some of these checkboxes aren't doing what I did. And so that's where I would say, okay, I'm going to take care of this, and then I would say, fix.
So faster for you to go in and manually fix than steer the AI.
Yeah, it was a lot of human steering, human ideation,
Yeah.
because I don't think any AI would say you should make a
So
query engine
you
in
were watching the
CSS.
thinking trace to watch it, what it was doing? Or just look, were you watching the thinking trace to see what it was doing? Or did you just
Yeah.
look at the, okay. And then
Yeah.
you would stop it?
I like
or-
having it go side by side. So I do have the GitHub Copilot app where I would do some things, but then usually I like using the side chat so that way I can see what it's doing and have a bit more control.
Do you think that we, Mark and I, who we know CSS, like I know that if you say, bang, important, it means it's CSS, but you really mean it. But
I didn't know that.
You didn't know about important? Yeah, it's one of
Oh,
those things
no.
you're never supposed to do in CSS, but whenever anything doesn't work, you just say, no, seriously.
What happens?
You override everything. Because CSS is supposed to cascade correctly.
Ah.
But if
Everything
you just
matters
say, no,
in order.
I'm more important than all of you other rules, then important. Do you have any importance in here?
I'm so
Do
sorry.
you do any bang important? Do you break any
No.
rules? No, she's
I
a
don't
purist.
believe in those.
She's
Yeah.
a purist. Show me the part that you are the least proud of.
The part that I'm proud of? Yeah, of course.
No, the least proud of. The part that you think is cursed.
Oh, the part that I think, the whole thing is, to be clear, no one should do this.
I mean, this right here is pretty bad.
This is terrible. So this is a very nitty gritty behind the scenes. I limited it to 12. You can't add more than 12 queries into one thing because.
Well, you could
just-
copy paste that
or
line
columns.
63 and you could do 13.
I
That would be
could.
truly cursed
Yeah,
then.
watch. Here we go. We're going to add. What UI control you're going to do?
You're going to type it yourself?
I do know how to type, believe it or not. It does not want me to do that. It's starting to do display none. There we go.
Look at that.
Yeah.
We've successfully extended this application.
It does.
It's part of
yeah.
yours
we
now.
have added a feature.
Oh, yeah. This is mostly mine now. I'm involved.
Okay, I'll add you as a contributor. I'll add a thanks in the README.
Okay, and which part are you the most proud of? Which part? Show me something you wrote yourself.
Ordering. Let me find it. So one of the things that I was ideating on a bunch was the ascending and descending. And the big fun debate, and I need to find it because I admit I did some cleaning up, was ordering things with Flexbox. Do you guys know Flexbox? I know you said you know important, but Flexbox is a
I
bit
know
down the
that
chain.
the maximum number of nested tables you can have in Netscape 4.0 is 32.
Great.
So I do not know what Flexbox
That is different. So Flexbox allows you to rearrange things on a page
Yeah.
And center things, put things at the front or back or anything. For ordering by ascending and descending, which I don't know where my window just went, that's using Flexbox and just using the browser engine in there to flip the order of things.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So you
it's
not only
gross.
used CSS, but you abused parts of HTML.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's really not something you should do. And that's what's great.
Did the AI push back and say, really, this is a bad idea?
No, it just said you're absolutely right. I was like, yeah.
Okay.
How long did this take you?
When did you message me? You first messaged me about this
I
like
texted you like a week ago.
Yeah, you told me about this like week and a half ago or something. So yeah, I started work right then.
But like clock time.
Clock time. Probably like 2 hours.
It's 2 hours too long, isn't it?
Probably.
Okay, is this slop? Is this AI? The thing is with both of the folks, we look at Steve Sanderson, you would need to be an expert to do what Steve did. You have to know and love CSS to do what Cassidy did.
Do you think you have to know CSS to create this app? You do?
I mean, you have to know enough CSS to know that you shouldn't do this. But yeah, you need to know CSS to at least if I were to not know anything, I wouldn't know how to massage it in the right ways to make certain things happen.
What do you think? I think this is
It's towards the engineered side of the
getting
spectrum.
towards AI augmented
Yeah,
engineering,
yeah.
and it's like you can't just vibe this. You couldn't one-shot this. How many turns were there?
Yeah, you can say create a
Oh.
CSS-based database engine in the browser that just uses CSS.
It's fully like in the tab. There's no
Yeah.
backend. It's just
but
running
you
in a single
couldn't prompt
HTML.
that and have it run off and come back and no.
All right.
It couldn't do
this
that.
is vibes, but it's two
Yeah.
or three notches to the right.
Past vibes.
Past vibes.
Yeah, I agree.
Fantastic. Cassidy Williams, we have an award for you.
Yay!
Best vibes.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Wow.
That is cursed. Don't ever show anyone that again. It's
It's
horrible.
open source on my GitHub.
And
You
it's
can
open
check it
source
out.
on our GitHub.
You need to add Scott as a contributor.
Yeah, because I have a commit now. All right, that's fantastic.
Right.
Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you so
hard
much
work.
for having me.
Big thanks to our sponsors. We're going to go to a quick break, and we will be right back with more cursed, wonderful things that we are going to vibe check.
Hello, Microsoft Build, and welcome. Boy, do I have a treat for you. I have Stephen with me from NVIDIA, and he's going to share some of the magic of the things that he's been building. And Stephen, welcome.
Thank you, Caruana. I appreciate it.
We're so glad you're here. Tell our audience a little bit about what you have been building. I know we've had so much fantastic information going on about our partnership together between Microsoft and NVIDIA, but you have something special.
Absolutely. So we have been building lots of things together between NVIDIA and Microsoft, but you'll see a few special things here at Build. And one thing that I have been working on in particular is an integration with hosted agents, Nemotron and Hermes Agent. So this is going to be on display as part of a talk from 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. So I highly encourage you to check it out.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I always love to see the demos and the technology that people actually build. I think that's so important. Give us one important thing about this new implementation and why it matters.
Absolutely. Well, it solves a lot of the problems that we see customers have in their agentic deployments. Number one is the control that they have over their agentic environments. Hosted agents brings a lots of opportunity for customization, and Nemotron comes in with the high intelligence, open source, high capability model that brings that strong intelligence to the table. And then Hermes Agent wraps it all up and helps orchestrate your models in a way that brings the most value out of them. So this really is, a 1-2-3 punch with these, technologies all together. So it's a lot of exciting new things, and I'm excited to show it off.
Fantastic. Well, everybody can see it at the NVIDIA Showcase page, and they should check that out right now. Thanks for joining me, Stephen. I'll see you again very soon.
Thank you, Caruana. See you soon.
Friends, we are back at Scott and Mark Learn to Vibe Check at Microsoft Build on the big stage. Right now, we have seen a vibe-coded OS written by Steve Sanderson. We've seen a cursed CSS SQLite database written by Cassidy Williams. And now we have Swix, Sean, also known as Swix, who is very well known for his AI Engineer World's Fair, a great AI engineer. We're expecting big things from Swix here to see if he can pull ahead of Steve and Cassidy. What do you have for us, sir?
Hey, Scott. Hey, Mark. Hey, everyone. I always wanted to do one of these, like hello, sharks. Like, what if there was an app on the market? Anyway, I don't have anything as fun. I brought an app that I'm working on for work. Literally, internal app. You're seeing it for the first time. I'm a little bit scared to show my own sort of dirty laundry, but hopefully I'll clean it up. And I demoed it just now, and it kind of works.
So this is a real app. This is the part
It's a real working app for my team. We're actually using it. So I'm responsible for all the issues. That's why I have to be very careful. So what's on screen? You can see what's on screen.
Yep.
I run a large engineering conference in San Francisco. This is an example of last year's page. We have 3,000 people and tons of speakers and tons of sponsors. And I thought it might be relevant because we're at a conference, just to see, have you think about the logistics of organizing something like this. For us, we have 10 parallel tracks, and so we have all these presentations of here's here's where all the sort of events and the content going on that you guys might want to sign up for. But I don't really like the presentation. This is using an external vendor, and it just kind of is ugly and like not customizable. For my most recent Europe conference, I actually ripped out the front end layer and started presenting the front end of this app, which is much more pretty, hopefully, that you can see here. But the back end was still very much on a SaaS software that we pay for and I don't really like. So for this year, we're organizing a much larger conference, 6,000 people, with a lot more speakers and sponsors and what have you. It's just doubling every single year. So I ended up making my own scheduling app, and this is the 𝗦𝗲𝗍𝗶𝗸𝗁 is what do we call it. So we have all these, it's basically sort of a bin packing problem where we have all these open slots, we have all these session days. So this is a clean data set, so you're not seeing anything proprietary right now. And we have to slot people in days. And it's a very high precision task because basically if we get it wrong, people are going to show up in the wrong day, people are going to be upset, sponsors and speakers and attendees. We have to sort of coordinate all of them to be exactly a fit. So one thing I really emphasized was, I'm just going to try to demo it, I guess. Let's say put Scott Hanselman, Scott Hanselman into the memory track. And I really like the idea of like an agentic sort of content editor, like a content CMS thing. And so it's going to give minimal detail, but post and propose changes. And I really like this idea of like precision that, that's exactly the track that I intended. I really like this idea of precision in agents, because agents can hallucinate, but if you have humans in the loop, I think it's really like the nice mix of UX and precision. So this is something I've been working on. I'm going to put a more open-ended question, but I think 𝗦𝗍𝗍𝗶𝗸𝗁 is just kind of like an agent embedded inside of a web app that you can make, and I think that's cool. But what's even cooler is if it lives within the communication platforms that I already have. So I'm going to go over here where I've hopefully cleared all my data and say 𝗦𝗍𝗍𝗶𝗸𝗁 add Russinovich, I don't know how to spell your last name, I'm so sorry,
No, that's right.
to an appropriate track. And it's going to use LLMs, it's going to use web search, it's going to read from my existing Slack. And to me, that's how I work with my team, right? Like we have so much coordination flying back and forth that I really want to say like, okay, the bot's already looked him up. It's going to find like, obviously he's a Microsoft SVP, so I'm going to put him in that track. I can approve or reject or modify it from there. And I think for me, the last thing is like, I really want agents in every single surface I operate, including email. So I'm going to approve this and go on over there. I'm going to put my friend Cassidy.
Okay, so you were doing
more
it in
speakers.
Slack, you were doing it in the main application. Now you're doing it via email. It's everywhere that you want to be.
Everywhere, right? But because I want, like, your agent should be omnipresent. You should be able, I should be able to text it. I just haven't set up the iMessage integrations. But like, put Cassidy Williams. I'm going to put Cassidy and see if they understand her full name.
Cassidy, of course, is her social media name.
Yeah. In, I don't know, let's call it the generative media track. And that's going to go over to here and show up. So I think a fundamental principle I really like to see is just logging and verification across apps. It's going to take a little while, but I sent that email, and it's going to reply to me with a confirmation of what it thinks and what it's about to do. I can reply and confirm it here, or I can also see that email I just sent about Cassidy, and it's going to give me the option to reply once it's figured out where to put her.
One of the things that I think is worth pointing out is that you're using a mini model here. You're not, like, we don't need to use big models, frontier models for everything. You're using a mini model.
Yeah. I want it to be fast, to be cheap. I can choose to upgrade the model if I want to. I just haven't done so. But yeah, I have a model selector thing.
So what's the harness or platform that you built this agent on top of?
The hosting platform, the cloud platform. This is a Cloudflare app. I like Cloudflare, at least for this vibe coding stuff, because it can host the website,
And then do you have an agentic harness? Are you using Pi or Copilot SDK? What's your loop? What's your agentic harness?
There's no harness. It's custom coded. It's a while loop for LLMs. You don't really need anything more than that.
Did you vibe code the while loop?
Did I what?
Vibe code the while loop around the LLM?
I mean, I don't think you have to. You know, you can just like do a loop, and like I like to set minimal turns. I really think that full unbounded autonomy is a bad idea. And so I like to have that degree of control. So no, I don't think I would trust an LLM to vibe code the while loop.
This is a really good-looking app. Like, this is very clever. I can see your face. Like, you're like, this is cool.
I'm thinking, so how long, I'm guessing you spent a lot of time tweaking and tuning this thing.
Yeah, and I'm busy running running the main show while I'm building software for the show. It took about a week and a half, I would say. Just going back and forth. Really, you know, I think what this is, it works out. So this is, you're seeing like the grid view is what I call it, days and tracks and all these. I also have the flat list, which is really good for reconciling on a spreadsheet. I also have the raw data where I can sort of look into the exact tables that I have in the sort of D1 database that I have. And I have an audit log with rollback. In case I make a mistake, I can roll back what I want to do. So this is one of those things where like I just need a ton of precision just in case I screw something up, because you don't want to mess up the locations and assignments of 500 people.
So it's interesting because you decided to create a custom version of a scheduler instead of, moved away from the SaaS product that you were using before. How specialized is this to your needs versus something that other people would also find useful? And then what's the trade-off in cost of something that's not so bespoke versus your cost of implementing this and maintaining it?
Yeah, so there are publicly, like private equity owned versions of this app that cost up to $200,000 a year. We're starting, this doesn't do all that functionality, but it does what we need, and it's very custom to us. Like it only knows the track days of June 29th, June 30th, July 1st, and July 2nd, because that's all I needed to do. So no, it's not meant for other people. I could generalize it, but why would I, right? Like that's just time spent on things that, it's not a business I want to be in, but it's just a productivity thing for my team.
That's the tough thing. You make a product for yourself, for your company. It is perfect for you. Is it perfect for N+1? Because I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, Sessionize and all these folks, they should buy this from you, but you're like, no, it's fine. It's just for me. You just made it for yourself.
Yeah, Sessionize is one of the industry standards, but they don't have a lot of the things that I would want to upgrade to. It's like a Cvent or an Excel for.
And I could imagine add voice to this. You could just go for a walk and talk to the agent and it makes the moves.
I happen to have an opinion that I think people adding voice into their apps are doing like the locally optimal thing, but it's not globally optimal. Globally optimal is your voice should be tied to your OS, kind of, so that you have one hotkey. You don't have to learn like 5 different hotkeys. Right now, if I press Command K versus Command P, I have like 3 different apps all trying to be my voice layer, but that's like really messy and like it's not going to really have the memory of like what I want to say, not learn on my my patterns. So I actually have this like I do like having that separation of voice versus the rest of the.
It's like you're using Windows key T.
Yeah, I use Windows H.
Or Windows key H.
Yeah,
but I agree that too many people
Windows
are wasting
machines,
time adding voice into their agent apps. The OS should handle that. It should be available for that. Last question as we get towards the end here. Is this on GitHub and use GitHub Actions? How does it deploy? Very briefly, how do you deploy the app?
Yeah, Cloudflare has a sort of Wrangler CLI that can push everything, including migrations of a database, and it's all done in GitHub Actions, of course.
I got one more question. How much of the code did you write versus AI write?
Is this like the sort of reveal moment? Yeah, it's entirely vibe coded.
What?
It's entirely vibe coded. I was forced to lie about the loop thing. Even that was done by Gemini.
Did you review the code at least, or did you just test it?
I just tested and give it feedback. So as you can see, all the feedback that I have in Cursor. I had to hide this window where this is the entire history of all the vibe coding that we've been doing.
You've never looked at the code or really worried about the code?
No, I don't know where. I don't know where it is.
It's vibes.
I will say I do care a lot about parallelism of agents. And so if you let an agent just run, it's going to do one monster file of like thousands and thousands of lines. And that's where I draw the line. I have some skills where it'll keep the code maintainable, but also parallelizable. So I can have like 5 different agents running on it at the same time.
Entirely vibe coded.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Big applause.
Thank you.
Best vibes.
Thank you.
We're going to go to our sponsors. We'll be right back. We got one more.
Welcome back to the show floor at Microsoft Build in San Francisco. And I'm very excited to be here in the Fireworks AI booth. I'm here with Vivek, and we're going to tell you all about this amazing technology. Vivek, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what Fireworks AI actually is.
Yeah, so Fireworks AI is the production AI platform for open weight models. We process more than 30 trillion tokens per day. We serve more than 10,000 enterprise customers globally, including some of the biggest names such as Cursor, Versal, Uber on the platform. And these companies leverage us not just for world-class inference, but also for fine-tuning the model on the platform so that they can truly embed the data mode into the platform. Cursor's Composer 2, Composer 2.5 leverage our RL platform. And yeah, this is the thing they need to actually scale up their applications.
Oh, that is so interesting. So many new things being invented. It's a little hard to keep up, and I'm just loving so much that I'm learning here. What is important about the partnership that exists between Microsoft and Fireworks AI?
Yeah, so absolutely. So we are already providing world-class inference to customers. Now they can access it within Azure Foundry. So they have access to the Azure Foundry's governance, security, reliability, no need to worry about billing and stuff, but they can also get access to world-class inference, which we provide on the platform. And then also we are bringing much wider array of models into the platform, open weight models into the platform, and they can train a model on Fireworks and serve inference on Azure.
All those meaningful features and simplified billing, you had me there. That's fantastic. And so I know that this is your first Microsoft Build, right?
Yes.
Are you excited to be here?
Super excited. I'm excited to meet people at the booth. I'm excited about the talk on Wednesday, which I'll be doing along with my colleagues who are giving some talks. That'll be a lot of fun.
That is great. Listen, you can find demos of Fireworks AI on their sponsor showcase page. Plus, you can find links to the sessions that are being given so everyone in the digital audience can follow along. So thanks for being with us, and we'll see you again soon.
Whether you're with us in person or watching online, sponsors elevate your experience and help accelerate your goals. Build and deploy GenAI applications with Elastic using Microsoft Foundry's catalog of LLMs, semantic kernel, and AI agents to improve search relevance. Enable scalable AI from cloud to PC and optimize agentic AI apps across Azure Cobalt and Windows on ARM. Find out more about how our sponsors are using AI to solve the issues of today and accelerate the innovation of tomorrow. All you have to do is visit our sponsor directory for the latest advancements, inspiring customer solutions, and special product offers. Sponsors make more possible.
Hey, friends, we are back with Mark and Scott Learn to Vibe Check. We have had some amazing stuff from Swix, from Steve Sanderson, from Cassidy Williams, and now to bring it all home is the legend himself, Simon Willison. You may have seen him occupying the top spots on Hacker News on any given Tuesday, pushing Mark and I to the bottom of the second page. Simon is a legend. You can check him out online. And today, what have you brought us, Simon?
So what I've got today, it's the culmination of 8 years of all of my projects finally come together. The first project, am I shown on screen somewhere?
You're seeing your screens right
Fantastic. So I've been building this project called Dataset for like 8 years. It's a data exploration tool. Lots of interesting data exists in the world. What can we build to help us explore it? 3 years ago, I started work on LLM, which is a command line tool and Python library for talking to language models. It's got plugins for basically all of them. And I've been blogging for, it turns out, 24 years. So I've got 24 years of stuff on my blog. So obviously, the thing I've been building is an agent, because everyone's building agents. Like the hello world of programming in 2026 is to build an agent. This thing is called Dataset Agent. It's a plugin for Dataset, and it lets me ask questions about my data. So let's do count of entries and quotes and link, and I call them blog marks on my blog. So I'm kicking this off. This is using GPT 5.5 under the hood at the moment, but it'll work with any of them. It has a bit of a think. It looks at the databases and queries that are available, the databases and tables, runs a bunch of queries. It goes, ooh, some of them are draft posts. I have to think about that. There we go. It says I've got 3,000 entries, 1,000 quotes, and 8,000 blog marks. I'm going to say, do a chart. So Dataset Agent, as with everything in Dataset, is based around plugins. One of the plugins I built is called Dataset Agent Charts, and that can do little bar charts of things. I've got other plugins for running bits of Python code in a sandbox, and there are all sorts of visualizations and things that I want to add into this in the future. I will do one more demo, because I've got, that one was GPT 5.5. This one here is the same software running against Quen 3.5 on my Mac in LM Studio. So let's see if it does the same thing. Count the entries, and let's just do count the entries and quotes. So now this is running entirely offline. This is using, oh, that was quite quick. Very nice. Yeah, it knew the tables, it did the counting. This worked. Quen, these models that run on a laptop are very capable of writing SQL queries and doing basic tool calls these days.
Okay, and the tool itself, the tool here that we're watching running on localhost is speaking to, it has tools available to all of the things that you have on your blog, or is it, how did it know where the data came from here?
So it is running a copy of my blog's database. My blog is Postgres on Heroku. I export that into, I built another tool called DB2SQLite that exports that to SQLite. So I've got a 100 megabyte SQLite database file on my computer, which dataset is looking at. And so all it gets is a SQLite database, and then it has to read the tables and get the database metadata and all of that kind of stuff and make that available to the agent.
So first, Simon, I'm a huge fan. I love the pelicans on bicycle.
I've got a demo about that.
Okay, but I got a question about this. When you say plugins, what is a plugin?
So this is, I build everything in Python. Python is a very good language for plugins because it's all dynamic. You can install extra packages that become visible to each other. So a plugin is, actually, let's pull one up. I'll tell you what, I'll pull one up that I wrote an hour and a half ago. This is Dataset Agent MicroPython. It is live on the Python package index as of 2 hours ago. And this is a plugin for Dataset Agent that adds the ability for it to run Python code in a WebAssembly sandbox. Because I want agents to write Python code. I don't want them to delete everything on my computer. You need some kind of safe way of doing that. And if you look in the code, it is...
And this is what you were working on when I saw you in the hallway.
Exactly,
you said,
yeah.
I can't talk to you. I'm publishing this thing now to Python.
This is exactly what's going on here.
Okay.
And
go ahead and
there
make
is...
the fonts a little bit bigger there for us, brother.
Here we go. So a plugin just has a decorator called hook_impl because it implements a hook, register agent tools, and it returns a list of agent tools. In this case, it's called execute MicroPython. It's got a function. It's got a description. And all of Dataset itself has well over 200 plugins now. LLM's got about 40. My little agent thing has got, I think, 5 in the wild already. Plugins are such a great way of building software in this age of AI, because honestly, Claude Code and Copilot and things, they can one-shot a plugin for some quite sophisticated behavior if you give them the right kind of information at the start.
So plugin instead of a tool.
Well, the plugin is a bundle of tools. Like in this case, I've got one tool that's embedded in a plugin. A plugin
but I mean,
could
tool is an
MCP
MCP tool.
Not MCP, but the same idea. MCP is just a fancy wrapper around the underlying concept.
But you think this model works better? I mean, it's because you're working entirely in Python, right?
Exactly, exactly. Like MCP is just tools with extra steps.
Okay.
Now, when you do this kind of work, if you recall, folks need to remember that he's had a blog since 2002. Like we were sending back trackbacks and pingbacks on blogs 20 plus years ago, Simon and I. That wasn't always vibes. When did you start vibe coding? Because you've put so much out that is bespoke code. How are you incorporating the vibe coding and then the AI augmented software engineering practices into the work that you're doing?
So about 2.5 years ago, Claude Artifacts came out and got really good at building little HTML and JavaScript tools. And so I started vibe coding before anyone was calling it vibe coding, where I'd just do little self-contained HTML apps. And I put those on tools.simonwilson.net. So this is a collection of 215 of these things that I've been building up over the past couple of years. And this is great because it's so safe. Like, you can't shoot yourself in the foot with a static HTML and JavaScript thing on a separate domain. So there's sort of no risk in these being mistakes. And I'm still doing this today. Like, I built this one yesterday. This is just a prototype of what it would look like to build an interface where you can attach files to a text area and like preview them inline like this and copy and paste things in and all of that sort of stuff. I want to build this as a feature in my agent, but first I built the UI prototype. And I built this with, this one was Claude Codex, was Codex Desktop. Often I use Claude Code on the web on my phone. So I can fire up my phone and say, hey, build me a prototype that does X. Click a button on my phone to push it to GitHub. It gets deployed by GitHub Pages. It's live. So I've been building little throwaway things the past couple of years. Since January, most of the code that I write has been written by an agent for me, because that was the point when the coding agents got good enough that you can pretty much tell them the style that you like, how you like your unit test to look, all of that kind of stuff. And they do the sort of scut work of actually typing it into a computer for you.
So when you're vibe coding, do you watch the thinking trace to see if it's off the rails or?
It depends on the stakes. So low stakes things like a little UI prototype, I don't care. The code doesn't matter. I just want to prove that the thing is possible. Some like this thing right here is a sandboxing system that runs untrusted code in a sandbox within my system. That's really important. Like the stakes could not be higher. This one, I watched it like a hawk. I was paying very close attention to the code that it was writing. I then ran all sorts of tricks to try and like stress test it. And I actually had GPT 5.5 try and break out of the sandbox, which was quite entertaining to watch. Found a couple of edge cases that I needed to clean up. But yeah, that's the sort of other end of the scale from just hands off, letting it do whatever it wants to.
So one of the techniques that Scott really likes is adversarial vibe coding, where you have one model propose something or write something, and then have another model go critique it and then have them argue.
I've been doing that a bit. GPT 5.5 is my security blanket. I really like it for security reviews. So until recently, I was doing most of my work in Opus 4.6, and then I'd have GPT 5.5 do a quick scan at the end to see if it missed anything. And it would often find things. To be honest, though, if I'd asked Opus to scan its own work, maybe it would have found them too. It's just you sort of habitually feel like you get the sort of vibes of which models have certain strengths.
Yeah, I like to have 2 or even 3, and I make a high, medium, and low. And if all 3 models agree that something's a problem, then that's a high, 2 it's a medium, and 1 it's a low. So being able to use something like GitHub Copilot and the CLI or the app, you can pick 2 or 3 models and have them all fight, and it works great. Yeah. So are you no longer typing code? Are you a typer of prose? Do you type your prompts, or are you a yapper?
I'm still mostly typing prompts. If I'm walking the dog, I might dictate prompts into my phone. But even then, the prompts can be quite short. Like, something I found really interesting is it used to be the harder the task, the harder you had to concentrate. The opposite is now true, because if the task is really hard, GPT 5.5 will churn away for 10 minutes. And during those 10 minutes, you can go and read Hacker News, and you can get distracted and work on other things. There's this weird thing where the more difficult tasks are now cheaper to be distracted from than the easy ones are.
So this is the thing that Mark and I are struggling with, and I think what we'll talk about in our close is this idea that you have to know what you're doing to be successful at vibe coding. You don't vibe into production. There's AI augmented software engineering baked into your process by virtue of how your brain works, because you've been doing this for 20+ years. Would you agree?
I think AI has made being a professional software developer harder, because it's raised expectations for what we can do, and you can now take on so much more ambitious projects. It used to be we had to stay in our lane. Like, I was a back-end Python programmer with a little bit of HTML and JavaScript because I could only skill up to professional levels on one of those technologies at a time. Now, I'm writing, okay, here's a fun thing. Here's a little app I wrote in Swift UI that helps me see what bandwidth my computer is using. And this is another one that shows me what's using my memory and what's using my GPU. I don't know Swift UI. I have no idea what I'm doing. I didn't even have to open Xcode for this thing. Claude Code is like, hey, no Xcode needed. I'll just build this up and stick it in the menu bar for them. I would not recommend other people use or trust this piece of software because I don't know what I'm doing. But it's also, I've been using this software for like 4 months now. I kind of trust it now. Like, I've realized that the thing I care most about isn't that an expert wrote the code. I care that a real human being has actually been using it for longer than like 2 hours. And it's sort of built up that, like, over time, that trust in the software gets built up.
Fantastic. Well, this one feels like AI augmented software engineering.
I agree.
I've
I
got
agree with that.
one
Yeah.
closing demo. Just
Very
quickly, I'm
briefly,
going to
we
say,
have 30 seconds
when
before I'm
did,
going to kick you off the stage.
when did Simon last see a pelican? Because it's got all of my wildlife sightings
think it was
up on my
last
blog
week.
now.
You saw a pelican last week.
And it says I saw a pelican on June the 2nd.
Oh,
That's
today.
today. And it's right, because if you refresh my blog, there's a pelican. They're right outside
nice.
diving into the water. It's super cool.
Very, very cool stuff. Big congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you very much. That is
Thank you. Thank you very much.
outstanding.
We appreciate you. All right. We're going to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, and we thank you all for hanging out. And then there'll be a brief ending here on Scott and Mark Learn to Vibe Check.
Welcome back to the floor at Microsoft Build in San Francisco. I could not be more excited to be at the Qualcomm space. I'm happy to be with you because we've had so much that has happened in the keynote together, and you're going to tell us more about that, aren't you? But first, tell everyone who you are.
Hi, I'm Anna Schaefer. I'm responsible for Qualcomm's developer and partner program, and talk about partnership, amazing partnership that our two companies have had throughout the year. Exciting things that we talked about in the keynote together.
It is really fantastic. Now, what does this community need to understand about the types of innovations that you're really delivering and how we're doing it together?
So this is the age of AI agents, and think of these agents that are context aware, that are taking data from across different devices, from a ring to a pendant, all the way up to the data center. This means very new ways that developers can deliver experiences for their customers, as well as different ways that they need to work.
It sounds like that's a lot of new workflows and form factors to understand. How are people going to actually dig in with this and learn?
Yeah, well, thankfully, that partnership with Microsoft includes very tight integration with things like Founders Factory, Windows ML. We, in our sessions and our demos in the booth, we're going to be talking about AI agents that help you port your apps native. We're going to be talking about automation in your workflows for inference, so you save on those tokens. And think of that orchestration that is needed as you make those workloads go across these different form factors.
That is fantastic. Well, I know we're really excited about this, and you know how you can be even more excited. Go check out the sponsor showcase page. Demos, links to their website, all of the new information that's available. That's how you can stay up to date on everything that's happening between Microsoft and Qualcomm. Thank you so much, and we'll see all of you again soon.
And we are back, closing up Mark and Scott Learn to Vibe Check. We have seen an amazing lineup of
So
folks.
fun.
Were you blown away?
Yeah, so
You
fun.
didn't know this was going to happen?
No, I didn't. And those were, each one was amazing and unique.
Yeah.
In its own way of how kind of it showed what you could do with vibes / monitoring and kind of more on the engineering side of things.
Right. We started this show saying that we were going to see slop, we were going to see vibes, we were going to see AI augmented software engineering. I did not know, you did not know, none of us saw any of these projects before, to be clear.
I think there was one slop.
Which one is that?
The CSS.
I don't know,
Cassidy
man.
CSS.
I thought that was genius. I got a shout out to Cassidy
Right.
for that. But I thought that the Vibe OS was amazing. All of these
it was
folks,
just
though, are
it was just so pointless and wrong, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that we can both agree on is that you have to know what you're doing, and that you will always be more successful if you try to apply good software engineering practices
Exactly.
when making your apps.
To have those ideas, like Cassidy saying that she couldn't have done that without knowing CSS.
I don't know CSS. I don't think I could have talked my way into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was amazing. I want to say shout out to everybody who made this possible. Shout out to our sponsors. Big thanks to Steve Sanderson, Cassidy Williams, to Swix, and to Simon Willison. This has been Mark and Scott Learn to Vibe Check. I want to encourage you to check out our podcast. We do it every week, Mark and Scott Learn To, where we learn a new thing every week. I hope you have a lot of fun at Build, and thank you for spending time with us. We'll see you soon.